Welcome to Encounter Wargaming. I'm Jay, and today we're going to be building this sweet little road for our This Is Not a Test table. Alright, so the place to start, I guess, is with our template. So this is for a 4-foot table, so of course I've decided to do 4 pieces a foot long. Now I've decided that I want my roads, each lane of my road, to be about 3 inches. So that means that I'm going to have at least 6 inches for both lanes, and then I want to do another inch off each side for sidewalks. So as you see here, I'm cutting a bunch of 1-inch strips to be glued on as sidewalks. So I've got 12-inch by 8-inch pieces there, and I'm just putting the 1-inch piece flush with the outside. And that's as simple as that. So the next step is to cut some popsicle sticks. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a bunch at full lengths, just cut off all the little circular ends. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use these to cover the edges, the foam edges of the foam core. So of course we've double layered, right? I want to hide, first of all, the line between the layers, but also the foam itself, because it's very absorbent, and when we put our textured paint on, it's going to soak in, it's not going to look right. We want to basically make these things look seamless. We don't want to see the seams between the foam core, and we also don't want to see the seams between the popsicle sticks, which of course is impossible to avoid at this stage of the game. But the next step is going to be filling all of these cracks. We're just going to use some standard spackle. I like this stuff. It's pink and dries white, so you can tell when it's actually dry if you're in a hurry. And basically I'm just filling the cracks between the popsicle stick and the foam board, and then of course the little tiny cracks between each popsicle stick. And then once that's dry, we're going to just give it a quick little sand. You know, make sure everything's flat, make sure everything's flush, and just make sure that there's no cracks showing between the popsicle sticks, like I say, or between the popsicle sticks and the foam board. We want everything to look seamless. We don't want this to look like foam board and popsicle sticks, right? So now we have to make our texture paint, and just like we did in the buildings tutorial, the very first tutorial in this series, is I'm just going to take my playground sand and siphon out the very fine stuff. So basically just by sifting through a strainer like that, all the fine sand will fall into the container below, and then my coarse gravel, of course, will go to the top and stay within the strainer, and then I just dump that into a separate container. And then it's just as simple as mixing a crap load of white glue with the sand. So I'm just taking a ton of white glue and add a little bit of water and just basically stir in the sand until you get a nice sort of yogurt consistency, or even thicker, maybe even like melted ice cream. Just keep stirring it in, stirring until it's exactly the right consistency, and you can tell by just lifting the popsicle stick out. And if it mostly congeals to the popsicle stick, you want a little bit of drippage, but not too much because you don't want runs on your pieces, right? So then we're going to take this glue, once it's at the right consistency, this textured paint, and basically paint the entire road pieces. So I'm sorry my camera crapped out a bit on me here, but as you can see, they've been painted with sand before I started putting this black on. And the key here is actually to paint both sides, because if you just paint the top and not the bottom with the textured paint, it's going to warp on you. You can see here, even with the black paint, it's starting to bend, right? So that's why I have to paint the other side. So textured paint, wait for that to dry, and then I'm taking my black Trem Clad, my rust paint that I've used in all the other pieces, and just covering that to make sure there's a nice, good, matte black coat on there of primer. Then it's time for my dry brushing. So I'm going to start by doing a relatively heavy dry brush. You could even call it an overbrush of like a medium gray color. Of course, just on the tops. Like I say, we painted both sides, but you don't have to dry brush both sides. It's okay. I won't warp any further from here on out, hopefully. And yeah, once the gray's all done, then I'm going to start washing them. So I basically got here just 3 different shades of green paint that I've mixed in little bottles with some water, and I'm just randomly throwing them around in splotches. Don't think about it too much, just kind of throw it around. Make it look as haphazard as possible. And like I say, I'm using 3 different shades. It's just for variety, just so all these like weird mildew stains and stuff, water runoff stains, I guess, for lack of a better word, just look different. They don't all look exactly the same. We want a little variation in there. And then once all those washes are dry, we're just going to finish these off with a coat, a very, very light dry brush, I should say, of bone. And this just brings everything up. It kind of blends out those splotches so they don't look so drastic against the gray, and just provides sort of a final highlight to everything. Just squaring it off nicely and blending all of the colors together in good order. Then, after I've dry brushed all the bone all over it, I'm just going to go around with PVA and splotches and do my static grass. The same way we did on the throw pieces in last week's video. I'm going to use the 3 different colors, starting with the one that's the brightest, has the majority of the color, or the majority of the grass, I should say. The next color of yellow as the next largest amount, and then just finishing off with our sort of brownish yellow, the very dark static grass that we have. And now that all that's done, I just realized that I need to put lines down the center of the street, and I probably should have done that before the static grass stage, but it's okay. Sometimes you gotta backtrack a little bit, change your plan. So because my road inside my sidewalk is exactly 6 inches, I've cut a 6-inch piece of foam core, or of cardstock here, and basically I'm just drawing a line down the center, and then every inch drawing a little square, starting a ½ inch from the end, so that when these pieces are together, there will be a bunch of 1-inch rectangles with a full inch between them, and then the 2 ½ inches, obviously on either end, will equal a full length between the ones. Now, sadly, the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper was only 11 inches long, and my pieces are 12 inches long, so I've just got that little half sort of stripe on the end there. And that'll just give me a guide so that I can flip the template around on the other side of the piece once I finally get to the end and draw the last white line. So we're seeing here, I'm just taking some white paint, brushing it out on my paper towel so I get a nice sort of dry brush. And you want to do a really heavy dry brush, not really even a dry brush. You want to just kind of put it on there really thick. And then that, not super thick though, because then it'll look like that sprayed on sort of, well, the paint in the center of the street, which in real life is actually a very thick paint, because they spray it almost instantly and it lasts a very long time. It almost creates like a little layer on top of the road. And so I want to do just a really heavy dry brush down the center of that template. Not hard to do, very quick and easy, and just completes the aesthetic, you know what I mean, of the entire road. Now I'm just going to take some Vallejo reddish orange pigment, and this is just a dry powder pigment a lot of people use for weathering, and I'm just going to kind of throw it around in random spots. It'll mainly because a lot of the colors that are already on here are like greens and browns, which are very bland, especially mixed with gray and white, and like we want to just add a pop of color. Pretty much every terrain piece I always do, I try to add like some kind of pop of color that's not just a bunch of blended together things, you know what I mean? Now these could be oxidation stains, blood stains on the concrete, I don't know, you can get creative with it, right? And it's just a matter of just like dipping your brush in the bottle and just randomly spreading it around. And if you get too much in one area, you can very like literally blow it with your mouth, and it'll fly off, you know, before it sets in between the grains of sand or of the textured paint that you've painted on. But also you could slap it with your brush and it kind of spreads it a little more, causes it to spread out. And that's basically the whole build, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed that simple little tutorial. This was super easy to do, and I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, you can probably build these in like a day if you really wanted to do it. Now there is a lot of drying time, of course, like the sand and glue I suggest leaving overnight. Also the initial coat of the black rust paint I suggest leaving overnight, so maybe over the course of 3 days, but you know, a couple hours each day and you've got a sweet little road for your gaming table. I know I told you guys I'd be doing the bridge this time around, last time I mentioned it, but I was going to do the road and the bridge as the same video, but then, oh, static grass. But then when I realized how much footage there actually was, I figured it would be better if I just did the road as its own, and then we're going to use the same techniques that we used on the buildings as well as on this road to make the highway bridge. So that's why I've decided to do it in the order I've done it in. So if you guys can wait till next week, then you're going to see the collapsed highway bridge. So that's that for today. If you guys like these tutorials, please hit the like button down below, as well as subscribe, of course, because that way you can keep up on all the future content we're going to do. Like I said, I'm going to be doing the collapsed highway bridge next week, but then of course there's going to be a whole bunch more terrain tutorials in the future. I love making terrain, and I'm just going to keep making terrain whether I need to or not, because that's what I love doing. So that is what it is. Also, if you guys really like our stuff, please check out our Patreon campaign. It's in the description below, and that will provide you with even more content, plus this content early, as well as a whole bunch of other perks. And it just helps us keep going, you know, with the costs of running this channel, with building terrain, getting into different miniature games, as well as just basically keeping the lights on and helping us keep our equipment in good order. That aside, also, if you're not willing to contribute every month, like the Patreon, you can just go to the description below and check out our Spreadshirt page. On there you can pick up a t-shirt or a hat or a tote bag or a mug or whatever you want with either our logo on it. We got a couple different designs on there, and each time you purchase one of those, we get a couple dollars back. So that's something. Otherwise, please hit subscribe, hit like, share this with your friends, let everybody know, and we'll see you at our next encounter.
Hey everybody, I'm Adam.
And I'm Jay.
We are Encounter Wargaming.
And we wanted to celebrate hitting our 1,500 subscribers with giving some stuff away. What are we giving away, Adam?
Fort Bane! Yeah. Alright, we're calling this the 2,500 subscriber Forge Bane giveaway, because that's the target we need to hit to give this puppy away.
That's right. So the first thing you need to do is share this video, the video you are watching right now. And
then click subscribe on YouTube.
if you haven't already.
That's it for one entry.
And the more you share it, hopefully, the more people we can get to hit subscribe and hit that 2,500.
Woohoo!
But there are other ways to win as well.
Tell them about it.
Well, you can follow us on Twitch. That will also get you an entry. So you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitch. On top of that,
support us on Patreon for 5 big buckaroo entries.
Crazy. So also all the people that already support us on Patreon, don't worry, you're also 5 entries. But also, you can hit subscribe on Twitch. Subscribing on Twitch will get you another 5 entries into the contest.
So good, and all of this to say thank you guys for all the support. We appreciate it very much. We've come a long way, and it's because of you.
It's true. It's been a wild ride, and thanks for all the support, all the help, and we want to give you some cool stuff as a thank you.
Awesome. So hey, remember to share this video, and guys, I think that's it. So we'll see you at our next encounter.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay. Scratching his head upon a milk crate throne.